Hey, this is Joel. Welcome back to the show. Today, we're going to be talking about something near and dear to our hearts, the loneliness epidemic. All right, are you ready? Let's get started.
Welcome to Reticence and Reverie, a calm space for deep feelers, creative souls, and those that want to know them better. Joel and Carrie explore the beauty and wisdom of introspection, imagination, and intentional living. Get ready for compelling and vulnerable conversations on joy, creativity, and life, as well as considerate answers to your deepest questions. It's an invitation to pause, reflect, and feel inspired.
Hello, and welcome back to the Reticence and Reverie podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Joel, and I'm here with Carrie. How you doing today, Carrie?
I'm good. I'm excited. We're recording our first full episode. We did our intro.
It means you listened to our whole first episode, and we are forever grateful for that. Glad you got to know us a little bit on the first one. We're getting into the meat of it now. This is our second episode, and today we're going to be dealing with the loneliness epidemic.
Yes, it's been in the news since 2023, where the WHO, World Health Organization, declared...
The WHO? No.
The World Health Organization declared loneliness a global public health concern, followed by the U.S. Surgeon General calling loneliness a public health crisis. There's an estimated half of all adults in the U.S. Are experiencing loneliness, and that's where we're at. We're here in the U.S., and because this is, I feel, such an important topic, I really wanted to kind of dig into that.
Sounds good. Sounds good. I think we've all had our bouts with loneliness. I think that's part of being human, certainly, and not to diminish it or elevate it, but that's a big reason we're talking about it today. I think everybody, including all our listeners, can relate to some form of loneliness or another, so I think this is a great topic.
Yeah, I think everybody at some point in time in their lives have experienced loneliness. I think for a vast majority of us, it definitely occurred during the pandemic. I know that was a rather difficult time for me personally. I had times where, unless it was speaking to my children or to people on Zoom meetings, I wasn't speaking to anybody at all. And it was a very lonely time. And I think it's really important that, especially in today's day and age, we're counting on technology now to fill that role. We haven't even come fully back to where we were pre-pandemic, going out and socializing, that we, address this, and we're wanting to talk about this. So do you have a time in your life that you had felt the loneliness?
Well, certainly the pandemic as well. I'm definitely an introvert, but I'm sort of on the extroverted end of the spectrum a little bit. And I had a lot of trouble myself, not being able to get out of the house and not being able to connect with friends or anybody. And I really felt just the vacuum of not being able to just have those little niceties with people. And even though I don't want to go out and sit down and talk with a stranger for 5 hours about my whole life story, I do want to have those little niceties of going to the store and saying, "How's your day going?" "Oh, me too. Good. Have a good rest of your day." Like, I missed that.
Right.
And that I figured out that really kept me going. And even though there were a few people in my life that were around every day and that I talked to every day, the whole fabric of my myself and my social sphere wasn't filled out 100%. And so I definitely experienced those gaps during that as well. Plus, I was a kid that I had a lot of lonely episodes, I guess. I spent a lot of time alone and wished I wasn't alone. And, I can remember one specific time at a ski racing camp I went to, that I was there with a bunch of older kids, and they really didn't see me as a peer, and they kind of mistreated me and bullied me. But when they weren't doing that, I was all alone, and I was just kind of left to my own devices in a room, just kind of, and this is long before we had mobile devices and everything, but I just had to read by myself, and they wouldn't even ride up the chairlift with me during the day. And I sat alone in the dining hall, and it was pretty lonely. And I remember that 2 or 3 weeks was really sort of a big bastion of I don't want to live like this. But of course, I was 13 or 14 and didn't have the tools or know what to do about it. But anyway, I think we can all have stories like this that we can relate to and something along these lines. And so I guess that's what we're here to talk about now, is what we can do as adults to counteract this or find ways through this, or even maybe use it in a productive way.
Right. Yeah. You might be lonely right now. There's a lot of people that are still experiencing it on different forms. So there's, obviously some health risks with that. So it's listed as, stroke. You have a higher chance of getting dementia as you get older, heart disease, depression, anxiety.
And that all comes from loneliness.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. They assess the risk as similar to smoking 15 packs a day. That's how damaging this can be.
That's surprising, honestly.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
And so, according to Harvard's Making Caring Common Again project.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, it's a tongue twister for sure. What age group? I'm going to give you.
Oh, this is a quiz.
I'm going to give you a quiz.
You mentioned before the show you're going to quiz me. So, okay, here we go.
Yeah, it's quiz time.
I'm ready.
Okay. According to Harvard's Making Caring Common project, which group of these do you believe are the loneliest?
Okay.
So the groups are, this is what they've polled, 18 to 29-year-olds.
Okay.
30 to 44-year-olds, 45 to 64-year-olds, and 65 plus. Which one of those do you think is the loneliness?
I'm going to verbally process this here a little bit. I would tend to say one of the first one or the last one, or both of those equally. But to reason it out and say that this is probably a surprising result, I'm going to say the first one.
So you're saying 18 to 29-year-olds.
Yeah.
They are actually the second
Okay.
most lonely. According to them,
Still surprising.
Yeah, it's 30 to 44-year-olds.
Oh.
Which is really interesting because this would be the millennials, right?
Right now.
Who have grown up with technology.
Okay.
And that, so you have the 30 to 44-year-olds are the loneliest. What am I saying? Loneliest. 30 to...
The loneliness list.
All right, let's try that again. Okay, so according to this, people 30 to 44 years old are the loneliest. That's 29% are stating that they're frequently or always lonely.
Frequently or always?
Yes.
Always, wow.
And 18 to 29-year-olds are at 24% state that same frequent or always lonely.
Yeah.
Followed by 45 to 64-year-olds at 20%.
Yeah.
And 65 plus is 10%. So it was really interesting to me to kind of find out the demographics on that.
Yeah, that's really honestly surprising. I would have thought, and regardless of sort of generations being, generation, X, Y, Z, et cetera. But even regardless of that, I would just think that is the age group that would probably be the most social, the most active, the most engaged in their careers, et cetera. You would think that they would be coming into the most contact with people. But they're still yet that are lonely. And I think that brings up a really interesting discussion or point of discussion, which is just because you're around people doesn't mean you're not lonely.
Correct.
Yeah. And just because you're not active or out there, that you're not lonely. Yes. And I think that leads us into a discussion maybe about connection versus, being just around people.
Yeah.
So
they give a few culprits that they're pointing to as far as what's leading to the loneliness. 73% of it is tech related.
Wow.
So,
how so?
Well, as you just stated, even if you're around people or you're in large groups online, it doesn't mean that you're not lonely.
Yeah.
Because we do know that there is a biological component to all of this, right?
Sure.
Human bodies generate electrical and magnetic fields. This is science, scientific fact. And when we are in our environments, it influences us. So being online is definitely not the same. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that tech hasn't helped immensely because it does, especially for people who maybe are in areas where there aren't people that have similar likes, where they can become part of a different community. But there is that biological component. Not only biological, it's also comprehension and being understood, right?
Okay.
I think that there's a lot of people that don't feel seen or heard. And we're learning now psychologically that it's extremely important to feel those things. So online, you aren't necessarily seen very much. You could be not heard.
No, very. I think most of us are not heard online.
Yes.
Most of the time.
Yes, very much so. I think everybody's trying to be heard. And so there's not the comprehension behind it or the interaction
of seeing other people
of
or comprehending
seeing
other
and
people.
hearing. And there being comprehension. So another culprit they're stating is insufficient time with the family, which also goes hand in hand with another one that's saying that people are overworked. We're living in a society right now where most people are doing more than one thing, more than one job.
I think we can both relate to that.
Yes, definitely. But I think, especially in today's day and age where there's this hustle culture, everybody's trying to do one day job and a night job and anywhere that they can add things. So we're overworked, which leads to insufficient time with the family. And then they also attribute a lot of this to obviously mental health challenges, but did the chicken or the egg come first?
That's a very good point. And I was actually just going to ask you which came first. So
yes,
are you going to tell us?
They don't. They don't allude to that on here. I think this is what's great about a greater discussion on this.
Well, it's probably cyclical. It doesn't really matter how it started. It's going.
Right. So the last culprit that they point to is that we are in an individualistic society. And that definitely would lead to loneliness when people are living alone. They are going to movies alone. They are gaming alone.
Well, I mean, a lot more people are, working at home. A lot more people are doing individual endeavors and, solo practitioner stuff. And, I can relate to that. Spending most of my life as a solo practitioner of my vocation, and refer to our other podcast if you want to know what that is. I spent most of my life sort of working by myself in my own office or own studio, working at home alone with myself. And, a lot of that is not just being alone and not having somebody to talk to, but some of that is just not having a common goal with somebody, not sharing the endeavor with somebody and the journey with somebody. And that can be definitely lonely. So I can see that. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's why I wanted to discuss community, because it definitely goes hand in hand with the individualistic society. If we don't have community anymore, that's how we're feeling. We're alone. And not to say that being alone means that you're lonely, right?
Right.
But there is a power in community. You touched upon that by saying that it was a singular goal for you.
Yeah.
Whereas community, it's a group goal, right? Whether that's a club or meetups or anything else that is a community, it's a greater goal. How have you found community in your past?
Okay. I have done things outside of work. I played a lot of hockey and a lot of other sports, and I got a lot of community through that. And not just the people that I played with, but, all their significant others and people around the periphery of that. I also found community in that in terms of like coaching and refereeing kids and other things. And like, I got a lot of community just from doing something I loved with people who also love doing that. That's a big one. I also think I found a lot of community through connecting to other people through education and things. And when I've gone to conferences, trade shows, things like that to sort of better myself, same thing, same effect. I found people who are also trying to do the same thing and found community that way.
Yeah.
So that's real community with real people. I think you could also, or I have also done that similarly digitally or online, where I took online learning, talked to people in the chat, and just got to know people that way. And so it can still happen, but I don't think it happens to the same level as it does in person. But it's still there. There's still community, And so I think those are the ways I have done it. Am I wrong? Did I get it wrong?
There's no right or wrong answers here.
I thought I was still being quizzed. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I have found a lot of my community through my professional education and conferences as well. Large groups where you have a common goal. And it has made up the vast majority of my friendships. I'm still great friends with people I met 18 years ago now.
Yeah.
When I was pregnant.
Oh, right.
With my first child. And I didn't have any friends at the time who were having babies. And it was scary. It was a trying time. And having other people who are going through common issues, common fears, and really being vulnerable gives you a safe space to also vocalize those things.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a very good example.
So also speaking of an individualistic society, there is Dunbar's theory. Have you ever heard of Dunbar's theory before?
Is that cartoon elephant? Oh, no, that's sorry. No, I kid.
Isn't that Babar or something?
It is. Being a little ADHD, my brain jumped to that because it sounded similar. Anyway, no, I have not. What is Dunbar's theory?
So Dunbar theorized that we should be in groups no more than 150 people. Okay. So that's the way that humans organize themselves in a hunter-gatherer society.
Sure.
So thinking back that far.
In human development, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
That's what our brains can comprehend.
Sure.
We can hold 150 people in our mind, understand them, and recognize them. Anything more than 150 people, we start compartmentalizing people into other groups.
Trying to put them into groups of 150, I would assume. Yeah.
So the reason I found this really interesting was you think about the greater masses online, right?
Yeah.
You're dealing with way more than 150 people. I mean, most people have more than 150 friends or connections on these different social media platforms.
Well, and most people are trying to get more. We're trying to get friends and followers and likes and all that. And, oh my God, I only have 100,000 likes. Yeah, right. I mean, okay, so we're trying to, so let's all limit our social media to 150 followers from here on out.
It's just close relationships. Now, when I was looking at all of this and I'm questioning, how many people do we need? How many good friends do we need to have a solid community? So there are two numbers, and these are going to be split along the lines of extroverts and introverts. And I'm super stoked that they actually did this.
Cool. Okay.
So
is there any rationale between splitting them there?
Yes.
Along those lines? Okay.
Because what they're doing here is they're stating there is a set number of close friends we need to feel fulfilled. Introverted people, of course, are going to be a little bit less. So the way that they have brought this to us is stating that an extroverted person needs, on average, 3 to 5 close friends.
Okay.
These are people that you are speaking to daily.
Oh, wow. I'm falling short.
Well, that's why this is extroverted.
Gotcha.
So this is daily communications, right? Checking in, text, how are you doing, in person, 3 to 5 close friends. Okay. Introverted people is 1 to 2.
Okay. Well, that makes a little more sense.
Yes. It's a little bit easier to do, but it's really important to have those numbers just because we need to know, right? Sometimes people question, do I have enough friends? Do I, have too many? How many interactions should I be having? So that's what they're saying psychologically. To feel fulfilled with friends is 3 to 5.
Okay.
But if you're introverted, around 2 people that you're talking to daily.
Right. Okay. And do they break it down further into being like 1 to 2 a day or 3 to 5 a day, close every day? And then do you need another group of 15 that you talk to once a week? And then the other greater group, the 150, goes out to once a month, once a year, whatever.
They did, but really that's kind of dependent on many other things. There's cultural reasonings behind it, but this is they just really wanted you to know for daily interactions.
1 to 2 or 3 to 5, depending on what type of person you are.
Correct. And that's not every day. It's not saying that you're not going to feel fulfilled if one day you have 1 interaction and the next day you have 10. They're just talking on average. But it is a really good thing to take a look at. I know personally when I started realizing that I needed more than just myself, and I started reaching out to other people, I could at times kind of overextend myself because...
Well, it's easy to do.
Yeah, sure. It is. Especially as an introverted person, it does take some extra energy.
For sure.
And you have to find that balance when you're bringing people into the fold and when you're figuring out your group. And then, it's great to be vulnerable and put yourself out there, but there are going to be people ultimately that maybe aren't great for you.
Yeah.
That once you do start having those interactions more often, that perhaps it's not something for you. Yeah. So you really kind of not just have to look at quantity, but quality.
Sure. And I think that's important to keep in mind as one starts down this road or this process to saying, well, I want to gather more interactions. I want to get rid of my loneliness. I want to come out of this. I need to look for these people or reconnect with these people or whatever, that it's real easy to sort of say, shotgun approach, right? I'm gonna hit all the people I know, and knowing I'm only going to get a small portion back, but those will be my people. But it's easy to put yourself out there, and then you get back 50 responses, and you're like, all of a sudden you're overextended, you know? Or to say, I didn't find it in this sector, I'm going to go look in this sector. I didn't find it with hockey, I'm going to go find it over here with my professional people. And that cost you something, you know, even if you didn't get a return on that, especially if you didn't get a return on that, you know, emotionally, energetically, you still, it cost you something. And so you move on to the next, and suddenly you move on to the next and on to the next, and now you've overextended yourself. So yeah, that can be easy to do, and something to keep in mind that when you go out and try to garner more, if you should do that, you know, so just a thought.
No, absolutely. I think.
Which brings up another point, actually, which is like, what about which are quality interactions and quality connections, and how those factor into this whole thing? Do you have any ideas or thoughts on that?
Yeah. So I don't think it's ever going to be 50-50, right? With what you're putting out versus what you're getting back. it's going to move on a day-to-day basis with these people.
And probably it's going to range across the board too, where you have somebody who takes more and somebody who gives more. And those two are two different people in your life. And so that may balance itself out.
Right. But I think it's important to discuss, especially as somebody who's more empathetic, that you can definitely, as we spoke before about, overextend yourself, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of energy that's going out, and it's really, really important for people who are of a nature of empathetic caregivers, people who are always giving a lot, that they also reflect on these relationships.
Mm-hmm.
I know I've had occasions where I have definitely given more in relationships, not expecting anything in return.
Sure.
And while you shouldn't have an expectation of what's returned, you should be able to review that relationship with people, friends, family, coworkers, whoever. What are you getting out of that relationship?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe somebody can't be there for you in that exact moment, but there's something else that they're able to produce, right? And it's not saying that everything should be just a give and take and who's giving what or keeping track of that.
Yeah, it's not just that our connection is a commodity and you're just like a quid pro quo of I gave you, 2 gold shillings, you give me 2 back. It's not like that necessarily. That turns it into something transactional, and nobody wants a transactional relationship necessarily, or no one would want that to be their primary connection,
right?
To be a quid pro quo. I think that actually gets in the way of connection. So
it definitely can. I just think it's an important topic because we, as empathetic people, as caring people, can overextend ourselves, can have these relationships that maybe aren't the best for us. And when those types of relationships happen,
as they do,
yes, it can be a source of loneliness while you're still even in that relationship, when you're not seen or heard or understood and somebody isn't pouring into you in any form or fashion.
Yeah.
It can feel incredibly lonely.
Right. And that's probably the worst of all of this, is being lonely when you're actually with and near somebody. Mm-hmm. That's probably the worst thing, I think, in a lot of ways, or to a lot of people anyway.
Well, and it's very confusing, right? Because here are these people that say, I have all these friends, we go out all the time and we're always doing things and we're going on trips. And yet I feel really lonely. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of it has to do with that. And the best way that I have learned how to connect with people and connect with the right people for me is through authenticity.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and say I've always been that person that's like, I've always been a take me or leave me kind of person. And,
right.
I always tried to fit into these molds for a very long time because I wanted people to like me.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah. And it's easy to do. It's easy to say, I may not be getting much out of this at the beginning, but it'll pay off.
Exactly.
If I just keep at it, if I just keep being the person that this other person wants me to be or is requiring of me, or I keep giving and giving, at some point they're going to, even the score, if you want to put it that way. But again, without being transactional, it's easy to just continue to kind of give and think this is going to pay off, or it is paying off, and not really know that it's not.
Right.
And to be able to suss that out in an authentic and genuine way into what's working for you and not working for you.
Yeah. And it's important to know not everybody's going to like you, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
That was a really hard lesson for, I think, me personally to learn. And I think it's something
and to let go of. I mean, even if you learn it, it's, no, but I still want them to. I know they won't, but I still want them to. It's hard to just let go of wanting them to. Yeah.
Exactly. And so when you are authentic and you say, this is me, and you do it in a kind and caring fashion, right?
Of
You're
course.
not just getting
Always
aggressive and confrontational about
back
people.
off, lady, back off.
Photography is the best. Anybody who doesn't like it, no. Obviously, that's not the way to do it. But if you are your authentic self, you're going to find your people.
Yes.
You have to put yourself in the positions, but that's where really spending time and learning yourself. What are the things that you want to do? Who are the people that you want to be around? Because who you surround yourself with matters.
Yeah.
So showing up to those occasions as your authentic self, you're going to find your people.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can attest to that personally. It's just, it gets hard. So I if there's any advice in this from me, I would say stick with it, and maybe you've had some bad interactions and things like that, and maybe some bad people, but keep at it. It's easy to kind of crawl back in your shell and be like, I got wounded by that. I'm not doing it anymore. And just keep going and keep being authentically you, and you'll find it. You'll find your people.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely. It doesn't matter what you're into. You just find your people, you be authentic, and the people who matter are going to stick around, and they're going to add to your life just as much as, you're going to be able to add to theirs.
Right. Okay. So we're saying quantity over quantity. Sorry. So we're saying quantity. We're saying quality over quantity, right?
Yes.
I mean, essentially. And then that even goes for extroverts who probably just by habit and by nature seek out lots of connections. Mm-hmm. They still have to be pretty aware of the fact that, hey, I only need 5 or 6. I don't need 25, Yeah. 25 acquaintances is great, but 25 daily, that's a lot. That'll still cost them something. And so
yes.
I think you still need to be aware of quality connections with quality people who got your back, and get you back. So,
yeah. Well, I think it's great conversation, and we are definitely going to be opening everything up to questions. In the meantime, I did reach out to some of my community.
Good.
Earlier. And so there were a few questions that they asked me based on this topic of loneliness. So
great.
You ready to jump into it?
I'm ready.
All right. So the first question posed was, is loneliness a reality or simply a state of mind?
That's an interesting one. I would have to say that I think it's both. Mm-hmm. And here's my rationale for that. And you'll have to tell me your thoughts and your opinion in a minute. In my opinion, it is a state of mind. But we as humans are our mind. We are a state of mind. And therefore, it is a reality. Mm-hmm. We live in our minds. We live in our hearts. And it is definitely happening in both those places. So it is our reality. Now, that being said, there's more to this. And are there times in your life where you think, I'm overextended, I need to be alone, and it can be a productive thing? And you can say, I just wish I want to go off to that cabin for 2 weeks and not talk to anybody. Of course, And is it a reality then? Yes, you are alone, but that does not mean you're lonely. Mm-hmm. And so I think that there's a distinction to be made there. But again, I don't think one is dependent on the other. I think it's a reality and it's in our mind. I mean, it's both, if that makes sense. But again,
I wholeheartedly agree with you. So I think with my coaching experience, I've learned that what we think is who we become.
Yeah.
So if your state of mind is lonely, mm-hmm. that does become your reality.
Sure.
It's also true that your reality can change if your state of mind does.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
At the end of the last one, I talked about this, right? What we seek, we find.
Yeah.
And not saying that anybody's seeking loneliness per se. Mm-hmm. There are people that feel very hurt.
Yeah.
And they will push people away.
Yeah.
So
not
they are
to, but
right. That not understanding what they're doing, but subconsciously they push people away. And so that does become their reality. Mm-hmm. That state of mind of saying it's too hard or it's too scary or I'm not ready.
Or even it's just easier. or I'll do it tomorrow. That's, and I'm speaking from experience here, is it's been a long day. I don't want to connect today. Not today. And then suddenly, 2 days becomes 2 weeks and you find yourself wondering what happened and how do I fix this? So, which I think a lot of us are in that state of mind now, because it's easy to just have all of these reasons get in the way. And it's a hard thing, but we kind of have to do it as humans to take good care of ourselves, just like going to the gym, just like trying to eat right. It's going to be a struggle and we're not going to get it right every day, but you got to keep pressing and keep trying, I guess.
Yeah. And I think that definitely leads into another question that was posed. Can loneliness be a comfort?
Well, I think so. Just like I said, sometimes when you're overextended yourself trying to build a community and, or just working, just living life as a modern human, it can be really taxing. And so sometimes I just want to be lonely. But again, now we're going to get into the definition and the semantics of loneliness versus alone again. And, I think that like sometimes it can feel like a relief though, to be lonely. And I think some of us are like, I just want to get these people away from me. I just want to be alone for a week. And then 2 days in, you're like, I'm longing for people, but it might be a good feeling for a little bit. There's this really great, I don't know if I know you do, but I don't know if the listenership knows the singer Pink, but she has a song in which I don't remember the exact lyric, but it's something to the effect of go away so I can miss you.
Right.
Just give me a minute, go away so I can have a chance to miss you. And I think that that's kind of, so yeah, loneliness can be productive, but in measured small doses. I think it's something that can turn toxic pretty quickly and become a way of life and all that kind of stuff. So that's my opinion anyway. I think that small doses, it can be a necessary evil, and let's just call it emotional Botox.
Yeah. Well, and really to your point, looking up the definition of loneliness is the distressing subjective emotional state arising from a perceived gap between an individual's desired level of social connection and their actual current experience. So that's the difference of being alone versus loneliness.
Okay.
So while we think of being alone as a comfort, especially as an introvert, and we're going to get into that once we do our introvert versus extrovert special.
Yeah.
It's really your perceived gap in what you're getting versus where you want to be. And so it is up to us ultimately to find out what is comfortable for us, but also the comfort zone isn't a place where we grow. So if you are having those 3 to 5 interactions per day and, you're spending time alone and you feel fulfilled, then you're there.
Yeah.
That you're where you want to be. If you are having less than that, you're not feeling fulfilled and you're spending time alone.
Yeah. Is it serving you?
Is it serving you?
Yeah.
Even if it is comfortable. So I think that's the greater question, right?
Right. Am I growing as a human from this? Am I taking care of myself as a human from this? Or am I just, feeding myself fast food that tastes good right now?
Yeah. And the comfort zone is a great place to stop, rest, and assess.
Sure.
Right?
Heal if need be.
Yes. To heal, to really figure out where you want to go. But it's not a place we're supposed to live.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
I think anything where you just feel comfortable for an extended amount of time means that it's a good time for you to assess some new goals, where you want to go. Because loneliness can definitely also come from being surrounded and in a place where you've been for a very long time.
Yeah.
And it's lack of new experiences, whether that be, human to human or otherwise.
Absolutely.
The last question that we got is very specific to INFJs.
Okay.
I found it interesting and thought-provoking.
All right.
So in this one, they ask, did you finding out about being an INFJ make you more content with being alone?
I don't know. Well, what do you think? I've been answering these first. You go first for once.
So for me personally, finding out I was an INFJ was the first time I didn't feel alone. I finally understood myself better.
Sure.
So it's not that I necessarily was more content with being alone, but I was more content with understanding why I needed a little more alone time than a lot of other people in my life who, for the majority of us, are surrounded by a lot of extroverted people, right?
Yeah.
And why that felt different. And this was the first time that it made it okay for me to have that time, for me to say, yes, this is a recharge time for me. But it didn't make me lonelier.
Yeah.
It actually gave me a community of people that would understand me. And again, we're going to have a whole podcast on being INFJs just because there's this whole enigma behind it, right?
Yeah.
And what that actually means to people that are INFJs.
Yeah.
But again, it's talking about being alone versus lonely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it helped me to understand why I needed alone time, but it didn't make me more content with being lonely.
I think it sounds like what you're saying is it reframed your perspective on being alone into terms of being productive and not destructive. And therefore you were able to shift your mindset from loneliness to being less alone.
Well, I think that they're two separate things, right? I think it made it more okay with being alone in my state of mind, thinking this is what I need to recharge.
Yeah.
It ultimately led me to feeling less lonely because I was able to understand why I felt a little different.
Yeah.
And seek out other INFJs, such as yourself,
Guilty as charged.
and such as these other people who are reaching out, asking those questions, especially about being an INFJ, because one of those, the biggest issue that I have found that we as INFJs are facing is that feeling of being understood.
Yeah.
We've lived our whole lives understanding everybody else.
Yeah.
But here's the first time that we're feeling understood when we are around people who are like us, which is why it's so important to find your community. So even if you are 1 to 2% of the population, which is what they say an INFJ is, that's where you find your people. And you can find people who understand you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it makes it less lonely.
Yeah. And I think also what I'm finding also in that description is also, I think there's a little bit of validation in terms of just that there's a system to be able to identify you means that it's a real thing. And that now you even being seen in a clinical sense means you're being seen. And so I don't know what I'm trying to say about that, but I think that's validating in itself and sort of can give you a little certain amount of comfort in how I am is not wrong. It just is. So.
No, that's great.
Bam, we rest our case. That's it.
That's it. Nobody can be lonely anymore. That's it. It's over.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad we talked so much about this, and hopefully everybody can feel a little bit less alone. Hopefully we gave you some good insight, some information, and, just want everybody to find their peace of mind with this. And whether you're somebody who, enjoys alone time, we don't want you to be lonely. So
absolutely. And, I without getting too touchy-feely about it, we're here too. Like that's what we're striving to do with this podcast is create a community.
Yep. And
eventually we'll get to the point where there's a little bit more give and take feedback type situation and that kind of thing. Yeah. We just want to make sure that you understand that that's why we're doing this, is to create a bigger, more broad connection zone with all of us.
And that's where we spoke about that in our intro, that was our goal. We want to give community to people who maybe don't necessarily have it. So we're excited to get this out. We want to hear from all of you, and we want ideas. We want to make this a really great community, a place where people can feel safe and seen and heard, and, you know, give some advice of what we've been through in life, what the experts are stating. So,
yeah. And I think this is maybe also a good time to interject in here that if you are feeling really, really lonely and that you need some help, please reach out, find help, reach out to any resources or people that you have. And if you don't, there's a bunch of resources available, and we'll try to post them on the notes for this show for resources and helplines and things like that can help you, certainly. And just know that you're not alone.
Yep.
You know,
we're glad you're here.
There's a lot of people out there, and for every one of the people that are out there that are feeling like you and they're not saying anything, say something for them, you know. So reach out. You know, there's help available. Please reach out. So absolutely. That's really important. We care about you. And I just got this T-shirt that says, you know, you are enough. And I'm glad you're here. Yeah. And we are glad you're here. We're glad you're listening to us, but very, very ultimately that you are here. Yes. We're glad you exist, you know, and we're glad that you're here as part of our community. And I guess this is a really good time to say thank you again for listening to Podcast Deep, and thank you for any more you listen to after this. We are really excited to sort of continue this journey with you and talk about lots of meaningful things to all of us, and lots of things that are hard to discuss and hard to bring up, but necessary. And we're going to have some fun along the way too. So absolutely. Yeah, we're really excited to get moving on this and have you with us. So I think this is a good time to end the podcast, as we always do, with a quote from Carrie. So what is the quote today? So this quote is from Helen Keller, and it's speaking directly to loneliness. Great. She said, "Alone we can do so little. Together we can do so much." That's really great. I think that's apropos and poignant and perfect. So I guess we'll leave it there, although you usually sign off the podcast with a certain way, don't you? What we seek, we find. There you go. What we seek, we find, as always. So seek us out and you'll find us. All right. That's it for today. We will be back soon with another episode for your listening, enjoyment, and information, I guess. Anyway, all right. That's it for us today. We'll talk to you soon.
Hello, everyone. As Carrie and Joel bid adieu to another episode, they wanted you to be aware of a couple of things. The information provided in this podcast is for general informational and entertainment purposes only. Nothing discussed should be interpreted as professional advice, including but not limited to legal, financial, medical, or mental health advice. Listeners should always consult a qualified professional for guidance specific to their individual situation. All opinions expressed by the hosts or guests are their own and do not represent the views of any organizations or employers. While efforts are made to ensure accuracy, the hosts make no guarantees and assume no responsibility for any errors or omissions, nor for any actions taken based on the content of this podcast. Listening to this podcast does not create any professional relationship between you and the hosts. All content is provided as is, without warranties of any kind. If you choose to rely on the information in this podcast, you do so at your own risk. Thanks for listening, and be well.